Hello everyone, welcome to a Replica Airguns video. My name is Michael K and we're looking at another 22 caliber rim-fired rifle. Now I did a quick review of my Henry lever action rifle, or lever action rifle, depends on where you're from. So I'm actually going to be doing a little bit more thorough of a review of this ISSC modern sporting rifle. It's called the MK22 and the company goes by the name ISSC-Austria. Now I'm not a firearms expert, but I have shot my fair share of 22 caliber rifles. I've shot pump 22s, lever action, bolt action, and a variety of semi-auto shooters. Now this product is actually made in Germany, so you would expect it to have fairly good quality. Now I'm going to do a quick pan of the box. This is hard to get everything in here, but it comes in this box here. Nothing too exciting. Inside the box is the manual, and it's a fairly good manual. There's a lot of detailed photos, descriptions of things, good explanations on how to use this gun. I also got this little card in the box. It's got a web URL with a discount code, and this basically takes you to a page where you can purchase extra magazines. Now I wouldn't worry too much about the discount code. I think my discount was like $1.25 or something. The basic price for the extra magazines was about $35. It also comes with a little L-shaped cleaning rod here. You can see that a little bit, I'm sure, and some Allen keys for adjusting some of the screws for the rails, I'm assuming, in different parts of the gun. Now you will need to put the iron sights on here. So this front iron sight, this rear iron sight here, and also the stock. Now I'm going to open this up a little bit so I can show you. It's hard to get this entire gun in frame here, but we'll just do our best. So there's a pin here that you have to put in here. It's fairly easy. It's just like basically like what you would find on a door. There's a pin that goes through. And I've heard some people say that it wobbles out, but I haven't found it moving around at all. I shot about 250 rounds through this yesterday, and I didn't have any problems with the pin moving around on me at all. Okay, so let's go over some of the specifications for the ISSC MK22. As I mentioned, this gun shoots .22 caliber long rifle rounds. Now just for the fun of it, I did test some long, so 22 longs. They're a little bit shorter round, and they fed in the magazine fine, and they actually cycled this gun. I put 5 rounds through it, and they all cycled. And going the other way, I also put some long rifle WRs, so the higher velocity versions, and they also cycled fairly well too. I think I had one ejection problem with one of those rounds when I was shooting them, but overall they functioned just fine. Now the magazines hold 22 rounds. There is a 10 round version for certain states in the US that are not allowed to have over 10 rounds. And I believe you will also be able to get a 100 round drum magazine that will be coming out for this gun also down the road. Now the MK22 is a semi-auto shooter. It does not shoot full auto. So you have your safety and fire positions. Now this gun needs to be cocked prior to shooting it. So I'm assuming it's a single action only gun, but I have a feeling it's striker based. Based on the way that the trigger feels, it does feel like you're actually pulling the striker back just slightly before it releases. And what basically is happening, like on many striker fired guns, like a Glock for instance, the gun is, we'll just say 90% cocked. When you pull the trigger, you're actually cocking it the last 10% before it releases. Whereas a lot of single action guns, all the trigger is doing is releasing the hammer or the action. There's more of a safety factor when you have to cock the gun that last 10% because it can't just accidentally slip off. Now this gun has about a 4-pound trigger pull. It's 36 inches in length with the stock open, and it has a 16-inch barrel. The MK22 also weighs 6.5 pounds, so it's got a good heft to it. Now I'm going to do my best to give you a basic overview of this gun. We'll do a little walk around of the MK22. Hopefully I don't miss anything. So on the right side we have some rails here. We've got the rail on the right side. This is our ejection port here, and it's open just because I want to keep this gun safe while I'm reviewing it. We obviously have our magazine, and there's different ways of releasing it, but you can release it this way. The magazine pops out. We also have our safety here, and this is plastic. I believe the lower receiver is plastic. Safety's plastic, it's ambidextrous as well. Of course we have our trigger. The upper is metal. Again, we have our sights. Now this one I've got kind of, it's not really, I can't get to it because of the way I have my scope mounted, but the sights pop up, and it's interesting when I show you the top here, the sights pop up and they allow for, you've got sort of your rifle sights when they pop up, and then your pistol sights when they're down. Now when you actually close the stock here, there it is, there's a little latch that it goes into right here, and that grips onto the stock, keeping it in the closed position. And it's basically just a pressure fit here. You also have a really neat rail on the front here, and this is good for if you want to mount a bipod or even a flashlight if you want to do that, or laser. Now the barrel comes out the front a fair bit to give it the 16-inch barrel length. Now I do want to mention that the scope does not come with the MK22 or this foregrip. I've just added it on for this video just to dress it up a little bit. So let's take a quick look at the right side. Again, we have our safety ambidextrous. We have our magazine release again on this side, so it's ambidextrous as well. I did want to point out that the actual cocking lever can be mounted in 6 locations. So I have mine furthest back here. I like where it is. You can mount it here, here, and you can also take it out and mount it on the opposite side, depending on whether you're right or left-handed. There's also a lot of places that you can mount straps to this gun if you'd like to. There's a strap hole here. We've got strap rings on the back here, 2 locations. Also on the stock, I believe you can also get an accessory part here and put a strap loop in this area here as well. So there's lots of places that you can mount straps on this gun if you'd like. And for adjusting the stock, I'll just get into that a little bit here. You can adjust your cheek height here. You can also adjust the length by moving this in and out. So you have several positions there. I'm going to take the magazine out for a second here. I just want to explain something to you. I don't like introducing live ammo when I'm indoors in the house, but essentially you just pull this down and load your rounds in it. I found if you pull it down too far and start dropping them in, there's a fair amount of room in here and the rounds can start to get kind of misangled, and you might have one go in nose first. So what I do is I just give it a little bit of room and I drop them in. And what you're going to want to do is once they're all in, is you want to release the tension on the spring and make sure they all go to the back of the magazine. But I found with this gun, it's really important that all the rounds go in here properly, and maybe even adding a little bit of lube, because it seems to be a little tight. Well, these are brand new magazines, but they seem to be a little tight, and I did have some misfeeding problems when the rounds didn't quite come out of here properly. So the rounds kind of got either stuck a little in the front, or they were stuck a little in the back. Now I was using just a lot of really crappy ammo. I was using some basic box ammo that had been sitting around for a while, and sometimes when the lead gets a little bit sideways in there, or it'll get a little off center, you're going to have that problem, especially with magazine fed guns. And also when they get with semi-auto guns, when they load, if the lead is a little cockeyed, it's not going to load well. So that may have attributed to a few misfires that I had. Also, when you put this magazine in, you need to really give it a smack, otherwise it won't insert properly, and you can also have it pretty much fall out. And when it's not inserted properly, it's obviously not going to fire properly. Now the reason I mention that is because the MK22 came out a while ago in the US first, and there were some mixed reviews. Some people had absolutely no problems with them, and some people had some feeding and ejection problems. And I believe part of that may be to the way you load the magazine. You're going to have to load this magazine a few times before you perfect loading it. Now, as I said, I put a variety of different rounds. I had some basic low-cost Winchester box ammo, so just a bunch of 22s thrown in a box of 500 rounds. And they worked pretty well, but I would say that they were the least consistent. And part of it was because I was at the end of the box, and these 22 rounds have been sitting around and moved around a bit, and so they weren't in pristine condition. Now overall, I did find that most of the rounds fired fairly well. I shot about 250 rounds through this gun, and out of all of them I did have some failure to ejects, I did have some failure to feeds, but again, overall the gun performed fairly well. And my experience with 22 caliber ammunition is you get what you pay for. If you buy the cheap stuff, you can expect to have some ammunition not even fire. You can expect to have some rounds just not really feed properly because the quality control isn't there with the low-cost 22 caliber ammo. Now I did want to really quickly show you some fundamental operation for cocking this gun and then decocking this gun. What you'll find is when your magazine is empty and the last round, the ejection port will stay open, just like that. Now to close it, you're going to have to, of course, double check, make sure you have no ammunition in there. You'll have to remove the magazine, and then you'll have to push the cocking lever all the way back, and then your ejection port will close. Now, of course, you're going to want to, it's actually cocked, the gun is cocked. I've checked this gun to make sure there's no ammunition in it, and then you'll want to fire it just to release it. Now you'll have to put the magazine in again because the magazine has to be in the fire, and then you can fire it. There we go. See, again, you have to tap that in all the way. There you go. The magazine does take a little bit of a firm push, and it does have to be in to fire the trigger. So at this point, I'm going to take you to the shooting range where I actually went and shot this gun. Now, it was a very dark range, an indoor range, but that's the only range I could get to on short notice. And I did shoot some high-speed footage, but it was just too dark to really get any decent video. So I'm only going to show you a little bit of a short clip of this gun firing at the range, but at least it's something to show you. And then after that video, we'll come back and we'll take a look at one of the targets that I shot at from 20 yards away. Go ahead, shoot, it's ready.
Which target are you shooting at?
Alright, so here's the target that I shot at, and this was from 20 yards away, so 60 feet away. That's the length of this indoor range. And I shot it from a seated position. I didn't have any bean bags or any sandbags to rest on, so I was just using an elbow-based rest, and I was using the scope, which was a 4-power scope, and I shot 22 rounds into this target, and this is about a 2-inch group. You can see here. Not bad at all. If you go from any side, it's 2 inches. And that's 22 rounds in that target, and this is really the first time I was out shooting it, and I was able to get these kind of groupings on a few different occasions, so it actually worked fairly well. Okay, so at this point we're going to talk a little bit about the pros and the cons of the ISSC Austria modern sporting rifle, the MK22. Well, first off, it's a very inexpensive version of the real FN SCAR. Now, if you've got $3,000 to blow and you don't mind spending $200 to $300 each time you go to the range for ammunition, then a real SCAR is going to be a little bit more fun. But for around $600 to $700, we're talking Canadian money here, you can buy this 22 caliber version and you can literally shoot all day for just a fraction of the cost of what the NATO rounds would cost you. So that right there is one reason to buy this gun. And if you're lucky enough to already have an FN SCAR, then this would make a great secondary gun to own for doing day-to-day training with. I like that it has 22 round magazines. It's nice to have the high capacity magazines. This gun is very well made. It does not feel cheap at all. There's a lot of metal parts. It has really good weight to it, and the fit and finish is very good. There's also a ton of rail mounts for this gun. You can mount stuff literally anywhere on this gun. There's lots of rails to add things to. And it also has pretty usable iron sights. I like the fact that they've sort of included this pistol sight, although you really have to get your face kind of down low to use the pistol sights because the cheek rest is a little bit high. But the iron sights, when they're lifted, work really well using the rifle sights. I also like the fully adjustable rear stock, so you have the height for the cheek rest, you have the length, 3-position length, and it's also removable. It's also nice that you have 6 positions for your cocking lever, and it's also left or right mountable. And my last pro is this has got to be one of the most badass 22 caliber rifles, at least available in Canada. So there were a few cons with this gun, and one of them would be the way that the magazine loads. You definitely have to give it a good smack and make sure that magazine is tightly placed inside the gun, or it will not feed properly and could fall out of the gun. And you also have to make sure you take the necessary time to load that magazine up properly, make sure all the rounds are in there nicely and to the rear of the magazine. Otherwise you will have some feeding problems with the magazines. Now that said, this gun can be a little bit picky with ammunition, so play around with it, find the ammunition that works best for you. Now again, if you don't mind clearing this gun every once in a while and then continue shooting, then the cheap stuff works just fine too. And as I was saying before, the rear cheek rest is a little bit high. So you can see here, I've got this rail extension to give this rail a little bit more height. When I did my shooting at the range, I didn't have the rail on, and I found that I was really having to press my face into the stock, and it was a little bit uncomfortable because the actual scope was sitting a little bit too low for me at the time. With this rail added, it's just absolutely perfect now. Now, the basic design of this gun, the cheek rest is just high, and that's the way the original FN is designed as well. So I think it's expected that if you're going to be putting a scope on it, you have to put a bit of a razor on there. Alright, so that concludes this review of the MK22 ISSC Austria modern sporting rifle in 22 caliber. And now I didn't mention this, but the company also makes a 22 caliber style Glock variant. So if you're looking for a low-cost Glock styled gun to shoot on a day-to-day basis, you might want to look at ISSC for that product. So as always, thanks so much for watching another Replica Airgun video. This gun is not available at this time in the Replica Airgun store because it doesn't really fall into any of my categories. It's not an airgun or a blank gun or accessory, and I haven't moved into the registered versions of any guns at this point. I'm not saying it'll never happen, but it's not available at the time of this video. I will be looking into providing information for anybody who's interested in purchasing one, so make sure to come down to the Replica Airgun website and check out the article. I'll put a link to the article in the description area to this video so that you can also check out my written review for the MK22, and I'm hoping to provide some information where you can purchase this gun in Canada. If not right away, I will do it in the future. So thanks for watching a Replica Airguns video, and until next time, take care.